produced by Puma Podcast, where we interviewed disinformation whistleblowers. So ito po yung mga operators na nagtrabaho sa mga political campaigns, and you can hear from them directly. Maririnig niyo how they were recruited into their work at paano sila kumikita ng pera. 3 of our findings: political trolls are not tech-brainwashed, uneducated, poor voters in rural areas. Some of them are from middle-class families, and they see political trolling as just a side gig, a hustle to make ends meet. There are different kinds of workers, and we need to hold accountable the people at the top, yung mga elites in advertising and PR industries. Ibig sabihin, sana wag lang po natin habulin yung mga low-level workers, yung mga bots, pati na rin yung mga mastermind.
Saan?
Pero mahirap pong gawin itong kind of research. Ang naging pangalan po sa methodology ng research na ito ay Disinformation for Hire. Yung pag-aaral ng paano nagiging hanap buhay, kumbaga, ang paggawa ng fake news sa industriya. So, ang napag-aralan namin ay ito: investigative research into the business of disinformation is risky and costly. It requires financial investment and
pahingahin mo ko.
support.
Pahingahin mo ko na hindi ako makahinga.
Journalists who do this are also threatened when doing this kind of risky research. It is difficult to execute because it requires the cooperation of whistleblowers. Ibig sabihin, hindi lang ito monitoring kung ano yung nakikita natin sa social media. Kailangan may ma-invite tayo na magpa-interview sa mga researcher ng mga tao na insiders talaga sa industriya. This means that we need civil society to support worker power movement building in the digital and creative industries. Kailangan ma-encourage natin sila at magkaisa, mapag-usapan ng ethics or lack thereof sa industriya. So, may iba't ibang interventions na nasubukan na. So, for example, codes of ethics have been attempted by legal advocacy groups like Lente, which I'm sure you're familiar with. Unfortunately, these attempts have had very little buy-in from advertising and PR agencies themselves because it threatens their ways of working and their bottom line. Thus, it has become easier to just hunt and fact-check low-level trolls and bots rather than to hold accountable itong mga masterminds. So, pag-usapan din natin ng foreign interference. And it's important that we review prior research. Of course, it's important to invest in cybersecurity monitoring or foreign interference. Ito po yung pag-track ng mga bot accounts operated overseas and how they interfere on wedge issues, such as how Chinese accounts were discovered by Facebook's own investigation as pushing CCP propaganda around the West Philippine Sea. However, we also need to fund local investigative research that can probe the transnational labor networks to expose itong mga financial transactions during campaigns, especially during elections. So for example, during the 2019 elections, we found at least one example of a Chinese mainland business tycoon funding a local politician's digital operations for a mayoral race. Dahil may personal business interests siya sa lugar na iyon at naisip niya na matulungan itong local politician. This could also count as foreign interference and ways of circumventing campaign finance regulation in the country. So, kasama na din sa pag-discuss ng foreign interference, we need to understand how it can come from many different countries, including from our allied countries, such as the United States. Reuters journalists last year exposed the Pentagon as seeding anti-vaccine names in our country at the height of COVID. We need to pursue unanswered questions from this expose, including identifying possible local Filipino collaborators who participated in the translation and dissemination of this US-funded disinformation campaign. So I'm almost at the very end of this presentation. I just wanted to highlight research from other neighboring countries about the risks of top-down government legislation against fake news. So it's important to recognize that many human rights organizations and international legal scholars have raised alarm about the global trend of anti-fake news laws being used as quote-unquote weaponized lawfare. Ang sabi po ng maraming eksperto ay ang mga batas ukol sa fake news ay karanasan nagagamit in an inconsistent and arbitrary fashion, often used by incumbent politicians and governments to target activists, critics, journalists, and opposition parties. So kahit mabuti ang intensyon ng batas, kung hindi specific at transparent ang batas at ang mga implementers na ito, top-down regulating can actually do more harm than good. Kaya nga, kahit UNESCO, nakaaway ka ng mga civil society